What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Podcast. We are here today. We are live on YouTube to discuss AEW WrestleDream and to take a look at the card that we have coming up this weekend, airing from, was it Tacoma, Washington? Somewhere out there in Washington State. Had a little bit of time, ironically enough, before the part-time job, so wanted to jump on here and just kind of knock out a couple birds with one stone, get the the prediction done here. But wanted to get one more video at least up here for the channel here. So kind of able to do that as well before I head over to Brass Ring Media for our live Saturday morning at 10 a.m. show on YouTube. So definitely subscribe and hang out with us on Saturday mornings over there. It's always a good time. But as always, thank you guys for checking me out here over on the Kick-Ass Podcast. If you are not already, feel free to subscribe over here as well. You can follow me on Twitter at @KickAssPodcast_. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. But I'm not going to waste too much time because while I said I did have a little bit of time in between the jobs, I don't have too much time, and I know myself and I ramble, so I am going to jump right into it. I'm just going to put my phone on D&D because the last time it was bugging. It was getting phone on D&D. There we go. And close out of my YouTube app. Cool. All right. Here we go. So thank you guys. Again, like I was saying, for all the support. And if you're watching this on replay, I appreciate that as well. If audio is more your jam, you can download it on Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, all that good stuff, wherever it's best for you. And if you use somewhere and it's not available, just let me know. Like I said, I'm still learning all these things. But yeah, and my dog is in the background. She is slinging around her shoe, her new, well, what's old is new, right? Her shoe of mine that is now a shoe of hers because she's just that kind of dog. She just loves slinging shit around. But with that being said, like I said, I'm going to get right into it here, not waste any more time. We are, again, of course, previewing WrestleDream, which is airing live from, and I was right, Tacoma, Washington. Like last year's event, it is in honor of New Japan Pro Wrestling founder Antonio Inoki, who passed away on October 1st of 2022. I have the the pay-per-view graphic as the thumbnail here, and I'm gonna see if I can tweak that a little bit later, just for size purposes. So I'm not sure if it shows up clearly or not, but I am going to display it here as well because I think it's a pretty cool poster. I like the vibe. You definitely tell, even though it's very, very small. Let's see if I can get any other bigger image of it. No, that's the same damn page. No, so it looks like that's going to be as big as I can get it right now. I was going to say a comment there, but it is. I'm just going to leave it alone. Cool. Yeah, I think I got a bigger one. So many jokes that I can be saying, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try to stay as PG as possible. All right, cool. There we go. So, look at the Young Bucks down there. It's funny because I don't know. It's just funny to me, the Young Bucks, just their face and just their facial expressions. I think rather, it tickled me. I'm gonna close out of some other tabs here really quick. And then we'll get back into the card. Cool. All right. So yeah, like I said, and it's kind of wild because the show is kind of like an honor show, right, of Antonio Inoki, but there's really, especially this year, nothing even signaling or reaching out to him, or I don't know. It's just kind of which I mean, the sentiment behind it is cool, I guess, but I don't know. It's just kind of random, or not random, that's the wrong word, but it's just kind of like, okay, like I like the Owen Hart tournament, for instance. Like, it would be odd if you had a whole tournament and you weren't even focusing really on Owen Hart. So this one is kind of like, all right, like, we created this pay-per-view with the idea behind it being an honor and a tribute of Antonio Inoki. And not that I'm saying that I want them to bring in any New Japan talent right now just for the sake of it, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's just standing out too much to or more than me, and just bothering me too much than it is other people. But it's just kind of like just odd. But yeah, whatever. If nothing else, it's just going to be going for the name itself, going to be kind of like in memoriam of and just like in honor of Antonio Inoki, then that's fine. It is what it is, and I'm not gonna bitch about it every year. It's really not a big deal. But it's just kind of interesting to me, and just something that kind of stood out. But the show here. Sorry guys, I got a little bit of coffee that I have to drink because I'm just a coffee fiend. I'm that person. I'm gonna go through the lineup here because of course we have double digit matches here on the card as always. But the first one, I'm not even gonna go over the pre-show match because again it's whatever. But we do have Mark Briscoe, your Ring of Honor champion, World Heavyweight Champion, facing off against Chris Jericho, of course, with his Learning Tree brethren, Big Bill and Brian Keith with him. I'm not sure if this is going to be on the actual pre-show, if this is going to be on the main card proper, but this pretty much came about because Jericho essentially called Mark out for not being serious and not taking stuff seriously, and I'm pretty confident Jericho got a pinfall victory in a tag match over Mark Briscoe. So that was a little bit of kind of like more ammunition for Jericho to call out Mark on, and long story short. But other than that, there's really nothing else that's there storyline wise. We did get Jericho referencing Mark Briscoe's late brother Jay Briscoe, and pretty much saying that he hasn't been serious or I don't know, something to that effect. I forget exactly the line, but it's whatever. I kind of wish they wouldn't have gone there so soon with, and not in that sense of like sensitivity or anything like that, but I feel like that's a card that they could have held on to for a different story and one that was being taken care of and kind of explained and handled a little bit better and drawn out a little bit more, and not just something that's going to be rushed, because I do have a bad feeling that Mark Briscoe is going to end up losing here. And part of me is like, it is what it is, because in my opinion, a lot of times when Mark Briscoe's on our screens or he's involved in something, you almost forget that he's the Ring of Honor champion to begin with, and it's kind of an afterthought. So at this point, you might as well take the title off of him, make Jericho be a piece of shit even more, and let Jericho run with it. He's not going to be the Ocho anymore. He's going to be the Nuevo, the Nueve. I don't know, whatever he's going to trademark next. But if that is the case, and they are looking to get another Ring of Honor TV-ish type deal or something, because there were rumors, right, that this could be another reasoning why Jericho's being thrown back in the Ring of Honor championship picture, as well as because of Tony Khan wanting to shop around potential Ring of Honor TV right deals, which I don't know how much truth there is to that, because there's not really, I'm gonna say, much demand possibly for Ring of Honor. And I could be off, right? There could be those diehard Ring of Honor fans out there, and I know there are, who would love to have them on TV, but it's a matter of, does it make sense and make it make sense type thing. And I just don't think that we're at that point with Ring of Honor right now. So yeah, spent more time on it than I really thought I would, actually. But long story short, I think Jericho is gonna win here. I think Jericho picks up the W. And whatever their intent and their purpose is to do with Ring of Honor going forward, I think that's why they're getting Jericho involved here, to make that happen and to facilitate that a little bit easier. My dog is, if you can hear her and you can hear her scratching in the background, she's making her bed. See if I can. We got it, Free. You got it. She's one of those dogs that has to like dig and like make like bury their little make a little burrow rather, like for their bed. I don't know. They think they're making a bed and it's just the carpet, no blankets. Just she picks like the most random spot, but you know, whatever makes her heart happy. Next, well, and again, I don't know if Jericho's on the card. That match is on the card if it's the pre-show. So potentially, officially, the first match on the card here, we have Darby Allin versus Brody King. Darby had an open challenge, which there was speculation that it was going to be Bobby Lashley, but it turns out it's not going to be, at least as of right now. Especially with the developments that we got on Dynamite this past week with Brody King and Darby Allin, their promo in the ring. It was very odd. I'll just kind of talk about it here. Darby Allin's promo was very odd. I do like his confidence, and I do like that he is. I like the growth that you can see that he's made in the 5 years of AEW, right? And the fact that you can tell he's more confident in the ring on the mic, and just on the mic period. He's more confident of himself, and he knows his place in AEW, and he knows his place as a company or as a company man, which was odd, and that's the odd part that I'm gonna get to here. I would have never pegged Darby Allin to be like a company guy, and to not brag, but to kind of boast that he's the guy going out there and doing the media calls, doing the scrums and things like that, and the interviews and promoting the show. Because you look at Darby and you don't expect that from him. I kind of expect him like the persona that I got when he first started in AEW and when AEW was first beginning. Like, he's a loner. He kind of just shows up to the show that he needs to be at, and when he's not doing anything on AEW TV or whether it's Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, whatever, he's out there riding his skateboard. He's crashing into shit. He's training for Mount Everest. Not out there being a rah-rah guy for the company. And again, while I appreciate him standing up for his company and having that company spirit, and wanting to put the company on his back and be that kind of guy, it's just odd, you know. So yeah, and to me it would kind of be like, I heard a comparison somewhere of like Darby Allin being like the Miz, but to me it would kind of be like, oh, and I thought about it earlier. Maybe it'll come back to me. But there was a great comparison that I thought of. Well, great, that's biased. But a comparison that I thought of in regards to Darby. Geez, man, who was it? It'll come back to me later on. But whatever, it's not that important. But yeah, it was just odd. And the part with him saying like pretty much like championing the fact and taking ownership of the fact that he got Brody King a job in AEW. And again, whether that's true or not, it's just kind of, I don't know, man. With Darby being a good guy, it's just like, why are you taking credit for another? I don't want to say another man's work, but another man's hard work, and yeah, like it's one of those situations probably where he's referencing, right? It's like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So you can be like the top employee or have all the skills, but if you don't know the right people, you may not get the attention, or you may not get the look to kind of get like an entry level, like just even have the door open for you, right? Which that happens a lot in everyday life too. So I get that. My dog is right here, if you guys can hear. I'm trying to pet her, but she's just craving some attention right now, of course, of all times, right? But with, I don't know, just with Darby taking credit for Brody's success to get into AEW is just kind of odd to me as well. But again, I didn't hate the whole thing, and I kind of liked it, and I liked the fire and the control of this segment that Darby had as well. So yeah, just some quick thoughts about that, and I liked Brody King as well, his response and his fire, and him saying, yeah, like what Darby Allin is saying is right and everything, and he's acknowledging what Darby has done for him, but he's also saying that, yeah, like Darby, in a lot of ways, he's not putting AEW first. He's putting himself first. If he does go and climb Mount Everest and doesn't make it back, who's going to be there? There's Kelly. Who's going to be there to take care of AEW and champion AEW going forward? And Brody King said he's going to be that guy. So again, it was kind of a little odd in my opinion, the content of the promo, but it is what it is, especially with the lack of time that they had to get to it. So it's yeah. Uh, we have Hassan Terrell in the chat. He says, "Hi there. Tomorrow is my mom's birthday." Well, dope. I'll throw that up there. Uh, Hassan or Hassan, if you throw your mom's name in the chat, I'll shout her out there. But happy birthday to Hassan Terrell's mom, and let me know if you guys are going to be watching WrestleDream, which if you are, right on. But if not, if you take a mom out or anything like that, celebrating, I would definitely understand that as well. And you're gonna watch on delay or not watch at all. Just I appreciate you guys for being here. But yeah, happy birthday to mom out there, and shout out to you, my friend. But yeah, so my to wrap this up here, my prediction for this match in particular, I think it's going to be Darby, because I think you kind of want to keep Darby a little strong, and especially if Darby's going to be involved anymore in the whole Moxley, Danielson, whatever the hell is going on over there. Um, and then again, it's just odd. I don't know. Like, part of me doesn't want to see Brody King lose, but I kind of don't see Darby Allen losing here either. So my pick is going to be Darby Allen. I think it's going to be a fun match though, and especially with the history that they have with that visual. I forget, it was on a Dynamite in particular, but with Darby Allen and Brody King, where uh Brody was choking and holding Darby, standing on the outside of the apron, and just choking Darby out. And I forget what the match was for, but that was the ending of it. And it was such a cool finisher, and just the visual of like pretty much Darby's body being lifeless and just hanging there, and then Brody King finally dropping him. It was holding him in the sleeper position, right, and then finally dropping him. I thought it was pretty cool. Um, what's up, Joshua White? I see you in the chat. He says Darby and Brody is indicative of the entire card. Should be a good match, but weird, bad, or rushed build up. Man, yeah, exactly. And I'm probably going to be a broken record here in a second, because I can pretty much say the same thing for damn near every match on the card. And I feel like almost like a broken record as well, because in the larger sense, because it's been like that, I think, for the majority of AEW matches. And sorry guys, if I move my headset on and off or take like a random pause, it's because aftermaths of the hurricane had some roof damage here. So the guys are outside doing some repairs. So if you hear like a loud thud, or my dogs randomly bark, or me kind of look off to the side, it's me just hearing and checking up on that, and just see if I can hear anything. But yeah, man, that's what's frustrating too, because there's so many good stories that we could be getting out of all these, especially even Darby and Brody, for instance. Like, had they, and of course they probably weren't planning on this match, because even if you look back a month ago, like, I'm sure they had a different envision going forward for Darby and Washington. But it's just one of those things where it's they could have gotten much more out of the build, or they could have gotten something period out of it. I again, as I was saying, like, they had a decent promo this past week, but that could have been much better in my opinion, and could have gotten a lot more. But moving on to the next matchup here, we have Jack Perry facing off against Shibata for the AEW TNT Championship. And again, copy and paste what Joshua just said in this one. It was literally, and again, let me know if I missed something. Jack Perry, I believe, was backstage doing or heading to his bus, or I believe there was some type of promo or interview going on backstage, something to that effect. And Shibata pretty much walked up to Perry and challenged him, and Jack Perry challenged him on the whatever app that he has. He types in some shit and it translates. So over it. And Perry was like, "I'll think about it." He walks away for like a split second off camera, and the next thing you know, he's attacking Shibata, and he says, "I accept." And that was pretty much it. It's just very odd. Just not even odd. It's not even odd. It's just lazy. That's it. That's just the build. And I threw up a poll on not too long ago on Twitter. If you follow the show over on Twitter at Kickash Podcast, because AEW is going to be here in Orlando for World's End on December 28th, and WWE will actually be here as well for a random WWE holiday tour. obviously the same night. And I'm wondering and debating on which one to go to. My first given was, oh, it's AEW World's End. It's a pay per view, like for sure. Like it's a pay per view. You know, it's gonna be like we say for everything. You know, it's gonna be a good show. It's a pay per view, so it's gonna be at least minimum a good show. The matches are gonna be minimum good, if not very good. Um, but I'm a story person. You know, I hate to be another one of those people I hear maybe shitting on AEW or whatever, or oh, like making it story LOL type thing, but I'm that person, you know, like yeah, like I appreciate and enjoy the matches, right? And that's essentially the end game, but I like the journey on the way there and I will always be that person. I will much rather put money and time into enjoying a story than a match. So yeah, I'm debating on if I should go to World's End or the Holiday Tour. So let me know. Go over to my page on Twitter at Podcast underscore and vote in the poll if you like, or you can throw it here in the comments and let me know what you think I should do, if I should go to World's End or if I should go to the WWE Holiday Tour. Again, both of them it's a Saturday show, obviously. So the WWE show is just going to be a live event tour. But a lot of times those are much more fun than the air. I mean, maybe not so much lately, but the live shows are a blast too. So let me know if you guys have any opinions or any insight on what I should do there, because now I'm still debating. And I was gonna put some stock into the ticket prices as well, which obviously will still have a big factor, but AEW still has yet to announce a even a pre-sale date for the World's End pay-per-view tickets, whereas WWE have already got the pre-sale email for the tickets to that show. So yeah, it's I don't know, man. But long story short, and I just spent the majority of whatever time frame not even talking about Perry and Shibata. But again, like we were just saying, going to be a good match. But I don't see Jack Perry losing here to Shibata, so Perry's going to retain, and it is what it is. It's just, and it's a shame because especially with Shibata, like there's so much story that you can tell with him, his journey back to even wrestling, period, and being able to be physical. Um, so yeah, it's just a shame, you know. And I'm not sure honestly offhand if Shibata is contracted to AEW. I don't remember, or if he's still part of New Japan's roster. Um, it's just frustrating, you know. Speaking of frustrating, we have Osprey, which is your international champion, defending against Ricochet and Konosuke Takeshita in a three-way match for, of course, the international championship. I was probably more frustrated than either maybe I should have been or than I expected to be, but I don't know. So the match with Osprey and Ricochet, what was that? Their Dynamite 5. Was it Dynamite 5 or the Grand Slam? They all run in together. But the Osprey and Ricochet match that they had in AEW, right? Obviously, uh, playing off of their storied past. I appreciated the commentators giving us I forget. I think they said, who is it? Ricochet that's up one over Osprey in their kind of wins against each other. I don't remember, but whatever. I appreciated it at the time, and I still appreciate. I should have paid more attention. Them going over the history between the guys and kind of setting the foundation there. So good stuff there. I hated the finish, both finishes. I thought it was lame as fuck. You know, just to be completely blunt, I thought first of all it came out of nowhere, which is a good thing sometimes, right? And what you would want, you know, the unpredictability and things like that. But it was one of those things where when I saw the way they landed, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And I'm pretty certain it was Ricochet laying on Osprey, if I'm not mistaken. It could be the other way around. Doesn't really matter. But both men had their shoulders on the mat, and I was like, no. As they were counting it through, I was like, no, they're not. They did. Um, and immediately the fans reacted negatively to it, which, okay, to be fair, sometimes in sports, for instance, like if there's a quick knockout or a quick finish, sometimes the live crowd is pissed because they spent a good amount of money on a match or whatever, or a fight, and it ends quickly. So that sometimes is the immediate response or the immediate reaction. But this wasn't it. It was just for the finish itself. Then we get, of course, the hero, Tony Khan, restarting the match. and saying, like it's pretty much just not. Well, he didn't come out there, but he related, I believe, to Justin Roberts. The match is going to end that way. They restarted it for what 90 seconds later for Takeshita to come out and interfere and interrupt the match, and it ended in disqualification. I'm pretty confident it ended in disqualification. Which is just like, what are we doing, man? Like, you're gonna shit on us not once but twice. Like, I don't know. I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm not. This match is gonna be very good, if not great. But I just think the whole build up to it was shit. Really. Um, I think it could have been a very simple story of, if you, and especially if you were dead set on having it be a 3-way match. I think you could have had each guy go out there and just stake their claim for wanting to beat the other guy, and just have Will and Takeshita have their story essentially being from oh my gosh, the Don Callis family, and kind of that back history and things like that. And then you have the wild card of Ricochet. Obviously, Ricochet and Ospreay have their history. Ricochet and Takeshita don't really have much history, but now Ricochet is pissed at Takeshita for interrupting and costing him the match, whatever it was on Grand Slam or Dynamite 5. So to me, it's almost like it's one of those things where you could have gone straight to your destination, but yet you made 5 different turns to get to the same place, and it was just completely unnecessary. So part of me, it's like, okay, so since we have a little bit of a cluster with this match, really, I think that there's going to be kind of like a wild card feeling and a wild card ending. And to me, I was debating on whether I thought that was going to be Ricochet or Takeshita. And I think I'm going to... Now, I don't think that... I could be wrong. And when I make my predictions, it's not necessarily what I think is going to happen. It's what I would want to happen. Or what I would want to happen. So I always kind of preface with that. I think that kind of a fun and out of the box pick could be Ricochet. Ricochet has Ospreay's thing to Ricochet when he first came in, which he's not even been here that long, but Ospreay to Ricochet was like, build some wins and kind of prove yourself. Now, granted, they haven't been those like big quality name wins, but Ricochet has picked up wins, and he has kind of done what Ospreay challenged him to do. It'll set up an opportunity for Ospreay and Takeshita to feud with each other and then not be over a title, because you don't need it for them. Yes, it would add maybe a little bit more and give reason to do battle. But I think the history that they do have, and again, it will force you to actually add more to the story. But the history that they have between Takeshita never really being a fan of Ospreay and kind of always having that look when Ospreay would be involved and things like that, and especially what happened this past week on Dynamite, that kind of sets it up even more. And I don't think that you need a championship involved with Takeshita and Ospreay. So I'm gonna kind of go out of the wall here and pick Ricochet. I could see Takeshita winning because you do need him to be strong. The guy is kind of, I don't want to say been wasted, but you haven't even flirted with the idea of tapping into his potential. So it's almost like, what are you doing? And Ospreay doesn't need the title either. So I think I would go with Ricochet. I could see them probably having Ospreay retain, but I think, especially with it being a 3-way as well, it's another excuse to have the title come off of Ospreay without him actually taking the pin. Now, that could be an interesting thing, too. Who would Ricochet pin? And you could have him pin Ospreay, and I think that's probably what I would do. Now, thinking about it, is wild as that would be, but I could see it being a case where maybe the Don Callis family interferes. Maybe Don tries to interfere, and he does interfere, and he attacks Will, and then Ricochet slides in at the last second, throws Takeshita out of the ring, gets the 1, 2, 3. So Ricochet and Takeshita, or Takeshita rather, is pissed at Ricochet, but Takeshita's focus is still on Ospreay, and he can get to the title later on, and then Ricochet can kind of go off and do whatever he's gonna do. So that would kind of be my I guess prediction and my thoughts there. Hold on real quick. I'm going to jump back in the chat. Josh says, like, 30-second video package on Shibata would do wonders, particularly for people who didn't see him in New Japan. And that's me, man. Like, if you've watched me in the past, I don't pretend to be the most knowledgeable in New Japan. I kind of got into the New Japan world very, very late, and need that history. And I'm one of those people who need the backstory. Like you said, even 30 seconds would do wonders for me too. And it would the excuse is always like, oh, go Google him, right? Yeah, I can do that, but make me want to Google him, you know? Like, I have so many other thoughts and things on my mind, you know? Like, as crazy as it sounds, like, make me want to Google him. Like, I'm not gonna take time out to Google someone if I don't care too much, and you have to make me care, you know? Like, I don't know. It's one of those things. And like you said, very minimum 30-second video could do wonders. And just a reminder, you know? And not something that's going to be on Rampage at like 10 or 11 o'clock that maybe 200,000 people will see and 300,000 people will see. It's just, no, like, I'm working. First of all, it's on or on Friday night. So I don't know. It's make me want to follow and make me want to do the research at that point, you know? So that's just kind of my thoughts there, but I agree with you, man. You say that was a cop-out finish, followed by a trash DQ finish. Reward the heel with a title match. It's the worst of previous WWE style booking. Yeah, and then that was in regards to, I'm assuming, by the when I was talking about Ospreay and Ricochet. It was trash, and that's why I was so deflated, because when the match started, I literally got goosebumps. I was like, man, here we fucking go. Like, because I didn't watch the match their match when it. I'm probably not live, but I didn't watch it even after the fact or even in that time frame. I went back years later once Ricochet was in WWE and I had heard about his match with Ospreay. I went back and I watched it then. So yeah, like when the match started, I legit had goosebumps. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fucking great! Like, it's starting the show. Like, we're gonna have plenty of time. Like, this is gonna be good." And it was just a crap finish. And for what reason? Like, what reason was my thing? Like, and you did it, like I said, not once, not twice. It was just insult to injury. And I'm just like, it's like, okay, like, kick you when you're down type shit. It's like, wow, like, all right. What's up, Sean? I'm doing great, man. I'm safe here. We got very lucky, very minimal damage in my area. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you hear, there's some damage to the roof that the guys are working on. So if you hear any loud bangs randomly, or my dogs jump up or randomly bark, you see in the background, that's why. But I think they're dying down now. I should say dying down. I hope they're not dying down, but they should be winding down for the day. You say Ricochet winning in a triple threat really doesn't help him. This is a weird match. Yeah, but it's like, who does it help, you know? And that's kind of my thought too. It's like you kind of put yourself in a weird situation here. Like, who, in my opinion, all three of these, maybe, and I was gonna say maybe Ospreay not as much, but in all three of these guys need to win, in my opinion. Yeah, and then you say, why did Ricochet wrestle Ospreay last week? They should have built it, dude. Yeah, yeah, that could be said for a lot. And Shibata just doesn't mean much on AEW TV, unfortunately. And yeah, and the last thing here before we move on, I don't think the show will help the morale of AEW. It just feels so flat. And it does, dude. It does. That's why I was wondering on what show I should even go to in December. And I hate to say it, man. I hate to like come on here be like a Debbie Downer or someone like that or whatever, but it's just something's missing, man. And I was listening a little bit briefly to the media call or whatever it is for that Tony Khan did for the show. I didn't only listen to like the first like maybe 10, 15 minutes. I'm gonna go back and listen a little bit or finish it at least a little bit later, maybe after I do this while I'm editing. But everything with Tony Khan, it's gonna be a great pay-per-view. It's been a great build to the pay-per-view. It's been like everything is great or the best. He was like, this is the best or like the most exciting time that AEW has had. And it's just like, bro, no, it's not. It's like it's not. And that's okay. You know, that's okay. Like, not everything has to be the best, the most exciting, the greatest. Like, it's okay to have one show that's better than the other or one like build that's better than the other. And it's just and when I hear stuff like that, it just automatically I check out, because it's like, all right, you're just, not that you're lying, but it's like you're just hitting me with bullshit, really. And it's like, just be real. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things, and it again frustrates me probably more than it should. And then Joshua says Tony Khan only cares about in ring, which will be good. So as far as he's concerned, it took the words right out of my mouth, man. It will be a great pay per view because all of them are great pay per views. It's the greatest build. It's the greatest pay per view. They have the greatest talent, the best talent. It's where the best wrestle. So everything is the best and the greatest, and yeah. Talking about a match that again could have had much more story and much more build is the Young Bucks facing off against Private Party. The Young Bucks are your tag team champions. Private Party are the challengers, obviously. Again, I was at the first Dynamite in DC, Dynamite 1, and I remember the surprise, and early on I remember the surprise of Private Party beating the Young Bucks, and just the shock, right? I remember in like the first, like the early few weeks of AEW's in their on their run on TV, right, in their infancy. That was one of the big surprises, that the Young Bucks lost to Private Party. It was a tournament to get to the point to crown the first tag team champions, and I think Private Party ended up losing in like the second round or something to that effect, or something like that. But I just remember that being a big moment, like, wow, okay, like this is cool, right? Like it's different because we all went in there expecting the Young Bucks to win, and they were putting over younger talent. So it was like, okay, this is a good feeling and a good vibe. Looking back on it, they've done pretty much nothing with Private Party since then. Private Party was out doing some random shit with Matt Hardy. And I don't even remember the name of was it the Hardy family office or some shit when Andrade was there. It was just like there's like so many families and different offices and all this bullshit. And I'm just like, okay, like what are we doing? So then they disappeared for a while, and then randomly a few weeks ago they were backstage at a party with Mercedes Moné and Okada. Who I think it was maybe Brother Zay as he was going by, was hitting on Mercedes, and then Okada stepped in. And it's just like they're not being taken seriously. And then now they randomly have a tag match against the Young Bucks. And I guess we're referencing that part of the past, which okay, like that's cool, good. Like let's actually build off of it, and they just haven't. The Young Bucks, in my opinion, just don't seem really engaged. They're just going through the motions, and it's very frustrating for me too, because like I was saying earlier with New Japan, with the Young Bucks, I was looking forward to really learning about them and seeing them on weekly television, and them and I'm not gonna get on the soapbox with them and Kenny Omega, but just the lack of development, story, and we got more from Kenny, but the Young Bucks I've just kind of been disappointed by, character wise. I was excited to learn more about them, to see them like who they really are, and to see them grow. Like I had heard all about them on the indies and stuff like that, and seen them in the past, at Ring of Honor shows and stuff like that, but just to really get an idea of what the character is going to be. And then again, fast forward 5 years later, and now they're just really not on TV much. They are the tag team champions, but they're not really doing much there. We had this, what could have been an okay angle with them attacking Tony Khan and taking over AEW, which now are they still, they're still like a power control, or has Moxley kind of taken over from the Young Bucks, like in the power for like control? Like I just don't know. Like I honestly, like genuinely don't know. So if someone else knows, like please let me know. But it's just a mess. It's just a fucking mess, and I'm not even down on them being bad guys. Like I was entertained by them being bad guys. I was like, okay, cool. And this is a different dimension for them, and more room to kind of experiment and grow. And it's just been very stagnant and just very underwhelming. And it's very frustrating for me, in my opinion. But yeah, going back here. Oh, okay. Bye, Sean. Be safe, man. Safe travels. Um, yeah, safe travels to you, or Sean. Be safe, my friend. Be safe. And Johnny is in the chat now. What's up, Johnny? What do you think? What do you think the match of the night is gonna be? I mean, as much as I was just shitting on it not too long ago, I think the match of the night is probably going to be Osprey versus Ricochet versus Takeshita. Um, yeah, like maybe the main event, maybe, but I think in ring wise, it's probably going to be the 3-way. And again, like and that's why I hate being negative sometimes because I feel kind of like an asshole. Like it's going to be a good match, or if not a good match, like I said, a great match, you know. But it's like, damn, like can I get some story, bro? It's like I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where they are just leaving out so much money on the table. And Johnny, we'll get to the other thing you mentioned here in regards to the takeover. So I'm gonna start that so I remember. Hopefully I'll go back and remember the check. Um Joshua says Mox and company destroyed Private Party a couple of times recently, not really building them up for it. Exactly, but thank you. And then another great point there. Even more reason why the tag match with them versus the Young Bucks is just so it's evidence and it's very telling as to the lack of depth in the division, and maybe not the lack of depth but the lack of depth in the sense of credible opponents that are ready, like, and again, we give WWE a lot of shit for it too, and I'm definitely one of those people that does, and especially lately in regards to the women's division, in particular, like you could say the same thing for the women's division over on Raw, and in specific. Yes, like you have something going on for your world champion, but what are you doing in the undercard, in the mid card? Like, who are you building to be the next competitor and the next challengers? And you're not. And like you said there, they were literally destroyed in the past few weeks. And it's like, okay, like, did you not know they were going to be, that you were going to have them be the ones challenging the Young Bucks for the titles? Or did you know and you just didn't care? Or like, it just makes no sense. It's just too much thought into bullshit, you know, and shit that's not even important. Um and Johnny, you say you think they're gonna build more stories towards Full Gear? I don't know, man. I hope so, but I put no stock and no merit into it. Moving on, we have the women's match here. Women's world champion Mariah May facing off and defending against Willow Nightingale. This one was pretty much augmented essentially because Dr. Britt Baker, she was gonna have a one-on-one match. I forget who it was. Maybe Emi Sakura. I forget who it was. But she was supposed to have a match this past week, and she apparently is sick. So I hope she is doing well and the doctor gets better soon. But then they ended up having a 4-way match, which, to be honest, I did not watch. I did not see the entirety of. But Willow Nightingale did end up winning, which I love Willow. So happy for her. But this match literally has no substance to it. It should be maybe an okay match. I would love to see Willow win. Because I love Willow and I think she has a good character and you can do a lot with her, but I just don't see them doing anything with her if she were to win. So I think Mariah is going to retain here. I think it was just a means to an end to get the women on the mat or on the card, which okay, fine. And I think it's going to be again a possibly a good match. Both women are good in the ring, you know, so I don't want to undercredit that or anything, or even shit on them in particular. I'm just shitting on the fact that there's nothing built into this match and it's just a random fucking match. So for that reason alone, I'm going with Mariah retaining. Again, I'd love to see Willow win, but I highly doubt it because I think. And what have we really done with Mariah since her story with Tony Storm ended? Nothing. So Um, yeah, Joshua, that's a very fucking good point. You bring up a lot of valid points, my friend. Speaking of women's matches, is the highest paid female on the roster just skipping pay-per-views now? Very valid point, a very good question. I would love to know. Again, would I prefer to have her in a random fucking match on the show or to just be left off completely? Maybe left off completely. However, I would love to have her actually doing something. And what are we doing? And at this point, that kind of plays into why do we have two women's titles to begin with? Now, Jason Powell, I did hear, I think he was like the first, if not the first or the second call in to be able to ask a question for the conference call that Tony Khan did for the pay per view. But Jason Powell had asked him, has he put more thought into doing a roster split, like an actual roster split like WWE has. Since we have so many fucking titles, he didn't say fucking. I put that out there for him. We have so many people on the rosters. Like this would, or if not now, this would be getting to a good point to possibly do that. And essentially, Tony Khan was like, yeah, he's put some thought into it, but he's not really committed to anything at this time. So that's probably a no. But why do we have two women's titles? Why? Like, it makes no sense to me. It hasn't from the jump. And it makes even less sense to me now. And I don't know what we're doing with Mercedes. She's cringe, you know, and I hate to say that because I feel like with better direction and better care, maybe it would be better. But I just think that she's just doing all this random shit because there's really no direction for her. And I don't think that's necessarily her fault. Now, I will say some of the stuff that we've seen is cringe and from her directly, you know, but that's probably the point with her character. So it's kind of like a weird influx. But to me, I don't know, man. It's just like you paid all this money to her and to Okada specifically. And I'm just like, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Okada is on this card either. No, he's not. So what? That's probably 10 mil right there. I'm just not doing shit with. And I don't know. It's just not my money. So I'm not going to sit here and complain about a billionaire's pockets. But, I don't know, man. I don't know. And again, like there is something else to be said of rotation, right? You know, you don't need to have everyone on every pay-per-view or on every match or on every card rather or on every show. So, okay. But it's like, damn, like, you know, like this is still Mercedes Monet's first year. I don't know. Like there's so much more that you could be getting out of her, I think, and you're just not. So I don't know what we're doing. I really don't. Let's see. Are you hyped for Mariah May versus? I want to be. It depends on what kind of build we get, man. And I'm so tired of making up the build in my head. You know, like I'm so tired of getting myself hyped for matches. I want to be hyped for them. For Mariah May and the Doctor when she comes back. I'm a big Dr. Britt Baker fan. I have been since day one. I respect the grind and the hustle that she's put into it. And like I said, I hope she gets better soon. You know, I think Tony Khan just mentioned that she was ill. I think that was the phrase that he used. So I hope she's good, you know, and I hope she gets better. And if she's ill, like no rush, like take care of yourself. I'll be here when you get back. But yeah, like I want to be hyped for it, and I think you could get a lot out of it. But it's all about how much time you put into it and not just rushing shit. Like you see what happened with Mariah May and Toni Storm. Like they maybe pulled the trigger a little bit too soon, and we were left with a couple, maybe like 2-3 weeks of kind of redundancy, or they just weren't on the TV screen, or it was just like the same shit. And it was just like, okay, like let's just get to it now. And I don't know, like I think you could, because I think Britt Baker is one of those characters where yes, she may not be the best on the mic, but she is more of a story based, you know, like yes, we all know and kind of like the callback for her is the match with Thunder Rosa, but I just think that there's more, and I think those segments that she used to do with oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the woman's name, her assistant that she had, her sidekick back in the day, I'm blanking, but they used to do the skits, but with like the dental office, but I forget, but it was kind of entertaining and it was different and it was just an outlet to grow. So we'll see. Yeah, he actually did kind of answer the question. It was very shocking. I was like, I even had to back it up a little bit to make sure I heard it correctly. You say they're building towards Monet versus Chris Statlander? Like, okay, like they're not doing a good job of it then. Like that's, I don't know, like come on. Yeah, I miss Okada in New Japan too, man. Just hit different. Okay, and Joshua says she being Brit, posted a video on Twitter sounding very ill. So again, I hope, and again, like I'm not rushing her back. Shit happens, you know, and her health is obviously most important of anything, right? Like this is the very least important. Her health is top dog. But yeah, when she gets back and when she's good, like there's no excuse for it at that point. And then we have Hezekiah Thomas in the chat. Says, I mean, just split the roster. It's not that hard. You have 3 separate shows. Just use them. Put the TBS belt and the TNT belt on Collision. Get rid of Okada's belt and just make it make it a trophy. Yeah. Oh, Reba Rebel. Yeah, Joshua. Thank you. That was Dr. Britt's assistant. Yes, Reba not Rebel. Rebel not Reba. Yeah, that shit. Yeah. But back to Hezekiah's comment. I agree. Yeah, you have what 50 titles anyway. Put 25 on one, 25 on the other. Call it a day. Short, sweet. And I think that would be good too because you would force yourself to have direction. You would force yourself to say, okay, like yes, and I'm not saying advocate for another World Heavyweight Championship, but make the TNT Championship the top prize on Collision, for instance, and have Jack Perry. That's funny, right? But seriously, like take him if that's what you're gonna do. Take it seriously and be like, yeah, you know what? Jack Perry is our TNT champion. He's gonna be the top dog on this show, and yeah, and this is why. And then really put like effort into it and make us believe. That's the whole point of this. Just make us believe. And I don't know. It's I don't want to say it's not that hard because again, I'm not out there writing weekly TV, but like damn, like sometimes I'm like, you're making it more hard than it needs to be. So yeah, moving on. We have another random match. Hangman Adam Page facing off against Jay White. Jay White is returning from injury. And I guess he's a good guy now, Jay White. So that's fun. This one is a toss up for me too because in one hand I don't see Adam Page losing because of the streak that he's been on. But on the other hand too, I don't see Jay White losing because he literally just came back, and especially if he's going to be a good guy now. So I don't know. And again that's it could be fun, like that's the whole point, right? Not supposed to be able to predict every match. But I guess you could have more, you can make more of an excuse for Hangman to lose because he's just fucking crazy, and maybe a returning Swerve has something to do with Page losing, right? And we already know that Swerve is promoted and hyped to return. So I'm gonna have Jay White going over here. Again, I don't know if Swerve is directly gonna get involved, or maybe it's just mind games without a Page, like he can't concentrate knowing Swerve is in the building, type of thing. Because I don't want Swerve and Hangman to interact anytime soon. So I think it's going to be a Jay White win here, and it's because Hangman Adam Page is fucking crazy. I don't even want to talk about this match, but we have the MXM collection, Mansoor and Mason Madden facing off against the Acclaim. I am not dedicating much time to this at all because I think it's a fucking waste of my time. And it's just very unfortunate because this time last year, a year and a half ago, the Acclaim were just, the talk was like, oh, these guys could be running the division. Maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago at that point, right? Whenever that big night in Chicago was and thereafter, they were hot, man, and they had a lot of momentum going for them, right? That cliche word. And then it just kind of fizzled. They got paired with Daddy Ass, which I was never a fan of. And yeah, it's just been kind of fizzling out since then. And now we have MXM on board, and I couldn't roll my eyes hard enough. So I truly don't even care who wins this match. I would go the Acclaimed win because I just can't see them losing to MXM. But if they do, you'll probably hear me laughing. If that's the case, because what are we doing at this point? And at one point, I thought that we were going to maybe see Max Caster break out on his own. And even Anthony Bowens, Max was always like the one on the mic, but Anthony had a couple of promos and moments where he really shined too on the mic in particular. And I think it was that match he had with Omega, if I'm not mistaken. There was one match in particular, a singles match that he just really stood out in. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, this one I'm going the Acclaimed win, and if not, then I don't know what we're doing, and I just truly don't care. Another match that will probably be decent, but I don't care much about it at all, and I don't know if I should be sorry or not. And it's all, and again, when I say I don't care, it's no disrespect into any of the talent and any of their hard work and the time that they put into the matches. It's just in regards to the story and how we got here. So I just want to make sure that's clear. But we have Hologram versus the Beast Mortos in a 2 out of 3 falls match because, of course, right? Why not? This one, I On paper, I would think the Beast Mortos would have to win, right? You would think, but I feel like with Hologram kind of being the new hot thing, I just feel like he's gonna get the W here, and yeah, we'll be on to whatever. I still don't even know why this is really on the card. Um, why we need, what is it, 11, 10 matches on the card, and that being one of them, I don't know. Um, it could have been a collision, maybe a dynamite match, but here we are. Going back in the chat here. Ezekiel says if you need a baby face for Mona or maybe Monet, you could maybe Monet autocorrect, right? Maybe you could have built up Anna Jay considering she's just come back from Japan and she's homegrown. Yeah. Johnny says Tony Khan rushed things too quickly and then jump into the next thing. Joshua says when I asked them to build the tag division, I don't mean the Acclaim versus MXM. Fucking facts, bro. If I could leave a comment up there, that would be it. And then Hezekiah says, I've said the Collision should be for the TNT belt. Make that almost a world title. Have Collision treat the TNT belt like a world title. You have a bully and story between the TNT guy and the AEW guy. Yeah, man. Yeah, whatever. Exactly. That's what I was kind of referencing earlier. And then Joshua follows up with Hologram. He's undefeated. That's likely to continue. So if Mortos pins Hologram, it's something for him, even if he loses 2 out of 3. Yeah, and it is. And to be fair, yes, and they do. And at least this one does have a story, right? But I don't know, man. It's just like, and for it to be 2 out of 3 falls, like, I don't know. It's just those particular like stipulations used to mean something to me, and meant more. Like when if it was a 2 out of 3 falls match, it's like kind of like and I guess maybe it kind of does play into it. It's like a grudge match, right? And it plays into the undefeated thing, like you were mentioning. But I don't know. It's just something just seems off, or to me, or rushed, really, or I don't know, just off. Yeah, I know. 20 loves to have 10 matches on every pay per view. I know, and we should be happy that it's just 10. But we are finally at the main event here. We have Bryan Danielson, our champion, facing off against Jon Moxley. And then, of course, I will get back to what you referenced earlier, Johnny, if we get any type of surprise appearance from a Mr. Moneymaker, right? If you've listened to any of my past shows, you know that I'm not a fan of everything that we've essentially done with Danielson since he's won the championship. I didn't like the bag angle. And again, not because shit like that bothers me. I'm fine. I don't get offended hardly at all. Shit like that, it doesn't bother me. But I need to know why, and I need the follow up. And it just the absurdity of it, I think, is what really just got me. It's like, come on, really? And then the follow up with Danielson not really being all that enticed, at least initially, to fight Moxley. He's like, he released some video and he was like, oh yeah, like your idea, like pretty much we had different ideas, and now my goal is to face Okada. So okay, like again, if somebody were to suffocate me and were to attempt to possibly kill me, I mean, that's the only thing that I can really gather from someone putting a bag over someone else's head and trying to block their airway, right? Like, if not trying to kill me, at least trying to make me go unconscious, right? Regardless, like, you're trying to knock me out, right? It doesn't matter if we have a difference of ideas in the direction for a company, a championship. It doesn't matter, bro. Like, if you do that to me, the next time I see you, and until I feel vindicated, it's going to be on site. It's going to be, I don't give a shit about the title, about your direction, my direction, me retiring, nothing. It's serious. It's on site, like it's just bonkers to me that Danielson's first immediate focus was, oh, like like your idea is this and my idea is this, but I want to face Okada now. So that was just absurd to me. And then, so we have that, fine. And then the whole Darby Allin versus Moxley thing, whatever, that's fine. I can kind of contort and make reasoning for Darby, you know, giving or even putting his title shot up for in jeopardy, you know, fine, whatever. And okay, yes, we finally got Danielson wanting to seek revenge against Moxley. So okay, a step in the right direction. However, the first opportunity he gets, he punches Moxley a few times, but then Moxley's in one turnbuckle. Daniel, instead of just wailing on the dude and being physically pulled apart from him, he's standing over there doing the yes chants, like with the yes and everything, and psyching the fans up and getting ready for the kicks. What? Like, bro, no. Like, yes, like you're apparently a much better person than me, much calmer than me. You do your meditation and all that. Like, I'm good for you, bro. And I'm a yoga lover myself. But it's like how are you like? This doesn't make you mad, but like other things in the past in your wrestling career have made you mad and like want to go after people X, Y, and Z. But like this doesn't, like someone like trying like someone who's and it's not just like a random person either. It's like this dude who you are super close with, right? Like you started the BCC with, you had all this history with, like you went to battle with, like all this stuff, and like you're just okay with just like taking your time, just like letting like people come in and save him. Like to me, dude, like every week. Even Tony Storm and Mariah May, they were more pissed off at each other. And Tony Storm was more gun ho on Mariah May than Danielson has been on Moxley. So it's just the absurdity of it to me. Just leading up to this point, I guess at least we have some type of story, right? And on the Moxley side, it's the whole speculation of who his higher power is essentially, and why he's doing this and what's driving him, and how he's saying, you know, this isn't his doing, and how all this shit, right? So, and like you said, Johnny, earlier, do we get a Shane McMahon appearance? And that's why I said also earlier with the Young Bucks kind of seizing their power play, right? And Moxley kind of taking over that route. Is it because we are going to get a cool higher power, and that being Shane McMahon, the one that's kind of being the voice in Moxley's head and guiding him and directing him, right? And I there is a lot of ways that you can kind of justify that, and I've said before, like I'm not going to be shocked if we, I don't know if it's going to be here or maybe at a World's End. But I'm not going to be shocked if we get a Shane McMahon appearance. Am I advocating for it? No. So to be completely honest, yes and no. No, because to my core, and what got me excited from AEW or about AEW from Jump was the fact that they were going to be different, and the fact that they're going to be the alternative, and that I am going to be able to watch a show that may have like a sprinkling of a former WWE talent, but it's all new people, and that's what I was excited about, because it was a new show, right? A new show that was airing. I love wrestling. It's my favorite. I call it a sport. It's my favorite sport, right? So this new company that you knew like some key figures, but again, like it was all new talent, a new direction, like a new vibe, just new and just promising, right? And just everything that we were tired of WWE being, we thought AEW was going to be, right? And if we bring in Shane, fast forwarding 5 years later, to me it's just kind of making AEW everything that AEW rather said they weren't going to be, just making them that. And I don't want to say caving into the sports entertainment aspect of it, because it now, and this is under the mindset that Shane is coming in, it could be like, benefit of the doubt, it could be really cool, right? Like we've heard some horror stories, right, from Shane McMahon's ideas in the past, but maybe if he has a filter and someone that he is like bracing ideas off of, maybe that it could be a cool thing. But I'm taking a wait and see approach with that. But I'm not going to be as negative as some people are with the whole idea of him coming in to begin with. In that respect, I just feel like it's unnecessary. First of all, it's taking away from the talent that you do have, and it's muddying the waters, and it's just like, okay, cool, like you got a McMahon, like good for you, but like, is that really what you want to be related to right now? Like, I don't know. Like, and again, Shane is a man, he has no relation, or like no I guess, relation in regards to the trouble that his father is in. As far as we know, he has not been referenced at all. And the son should not be faulted or impacted negatively because of his father, right? It sucks, and it's, like, you take the fruits of the name, you got to take the labors of the name as well sometimes, so in a lot of ways I do feel for Shane, but like, bro, like, you don't, I don't know, like, I on the Shane McMahon side, I could see him definitely being intrigued and being like, fuck yeah, like, let's go. And with AEW, I could see him wanting to just rub it in, like, maybe his sister's face, maybe Triple H's face, probably his father's face, and be like, fuck you guys, like, I don't need you guys, like, I can do my own thing and make it 10 times better and whatever, and put his spin on it. And maybe he could run Collision, speaking of the roster split earlier, maybe he could run a show. It's just, there are some possibilities and some things that you can do with it, but I don't think that you should. I will stick with, and earlier when I was saying, like, I do and I do, like, that, it's kind of a little bit of the reasons why I don't, just because, again, I want AEW to keep what is left of their own identity to themselves. But I would fucking love to see the internet burn, because I am that person. I would love to see people just lose their minds, lose their shits over Shane McMahon being in AEW. I would love to see Twitter just implode. I would love to hear everyone's reactions and responses to it. I'd love to see the follow-up. With something that big, and just hate on it all you want, it would be a big deal, right? I would love to see the follow-up, because they would be forced to follow up on it. Now, the big deal is going to be how you follow up on it and the consistency of it, not just follow up the week after and then maybe the week after that, maybe the week after that, and then, oh, Shane's gone for 2-3 weeks and then we'll see him at World's End type shit, or 2 months later. So I think if you're gonna do it, you gotta go balls to the wall and just fucking do it, man. Just commit to it. And just let everything burn and just be like, you know what, fuck this. Like, throw the grenade in there, just let it all explode and just go crazy. So that's the part of me that's like, yeah, do it, just because, like, I'm kind of here for the chaos of it. And again, and I think if anyone, storyline wise and wrestling mind wise, could make it work, it would be a Moxley, so yeah, that's kind of my long and short and sweet of it. But back to the main focal point of the match itself, though, is does Bryan retain, and kind of getting back to the just kind of, again, absurdity of how we got here with Danielson. If he really is no longer, if he's going to lose this weekend and this is the end of his full-time run and he's just going to be on a part-time basis and we'll see him very limited and sporadically going forward, you did a very shit job of promoting that and hyping that and really selling the severity of that stipulation this past week and the build getting here. That's why part of me is like, there's no way, like, that Danielson is gonna lose, but I'm leaning more towards that he is than anything else, because it's not surprising to me, as sad as it is, that AEW just wouldn't really build to, and they would leave all that money on the table and they wouldn't really build and get the hype up for Danielson no longer wrestling full time. Now, again, it's not like he was on every episode of Dynamite wrestling every week specifically, but he was on there a good amount of times, and he is your champion, and that was the whole crutch of his story getting into or leading to the title to begin with. So with it being in Washington as well, I can see Danielson being that kind of guy. Like, he loves Moxley. Like, he is obviously in favor of this story. It's in Washington, which means it would be even more impactful for Moxley to beat him in his home state. So I'm going to go with Danielson loses here. I think it's still fucking crazy that we didn't get more build to this potentially being the end. And if it's not, then okay, cool, I was wrong. And they, were leading to something else. But I don't see how Moxley would lose either. Like, I don't see Moxley just losing clean. I don't see really who would interfere on Danielson's half for it to be like a shit finish or anything like that. So yeah, I'm going with Danielson losing here. I'm going with Moxley retaining. If I had to put money on if Shane debuts or makes an appearance here, I would go, yeah. I would go slightly, yeah. I would go 60-40 that Shane does make an appearance. Shane McMahon makes an appearance. But again, I would put only minimal money on it that I know I would most likely be losing. I still think it's a far it's like far out there that Shane's gonna join, but I just think it's one of those things that it's just crazy enough that it could work and that it could actually happen. Because really, and like honestly though, like, so what? If Shane does jump over the AEW, like what's the big deal? Like what negative like reaction is it gonna have for WWE? Like, okay, like your TMZs, your Sports Illustrated, maybe your ESPNs, like those type of outlets will pick up that Shane McMahon has joined AEW, and a McMahon has joined AEW, and a McMahon has partnered with the WWE's competition, and all those headline type things, right? Like, okay, but like after the, like I was saying earlier, like after the first month or so, like what impact is it really going to have? You know, it's not like, it's not even like Stephanie, for instance, is a big character on WWE right now, or Triple H is a big character on WWE right now. And they're really playing into the McMahon name. It's not even referenced at all. So I just don't get, or I'm not gonna say I don't get, but I don't see, besides people just making a big deal out of it, and besides just the McMahon name itself jumping to the competition, which again is a big deal. I'm not underplaying that, but at least on the WWE side, like, what's the big deal for them? Like, okay, like, again, I can hear their reaction being like, okay, it's a marathon, not a race, or a sprint rather. It's a marathon, not a sprint, which is what their cop out was when NXT had lost to Dynamite that first week in the ratings, right? Oh, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I could see them having a very similar reaction. But yeah, I am going to go through some comments here before I wrap up the show. And thank you guys for hanging out with me. I appreciate it for this impromptu live here. Yeah, and then Brandon was just asking, will we see Shane tomorrow? Maybe see Christian Cage cash in on Moxley and Shane stop him doing the cash in. That could be interesting. That could be really, could you imagine? Oh my god, talk about the WWE influx, right? Have Christian Cage cash in on just Christian cash in on Dean Ambrose, and have Shane McMahon block the cash in. Like, could you fucking imagine? People would lose their mind. I'd love it. Hezekiah says, have Jack Perry be a slimy Win Peel who holds the TNT belt hostage between or behind the Elite, with him eventually losing to Daniel Garcia. Bill Garcia as the face of, yeah, I fucking love that idea, dude. Hezekiah, and I call everyone dude, so don't hold me to anything there, but yeah, like for sure, like I would love that idea. And I think again, long-term booking, like that's why I'm not, again, like there's a lot of things that you don't want to copy WWE on, and you want to be your own identity, but fuck, like you're at, how many people do you have on your roster at this point, right? Like over, definitely got to be over 50. So 20, I was just like bullshitting earlier with the titles, like 25, like whatever, like divide it up and have like a 6-month plan. So yeah, I love that idea. And especially have Jack Perry, like I mentioned earlier, TNT be your essential, like your top championship on Collision, and have Daniel Garcia kind of making his way through the roster and building up to it. I love that idea. Yeah, Johnny says all entertainment wrestling for sure. And Johnny, man, I said this a few weeks ago when the whole Shane McMahon thing first happened. I signed me the fuck up for a Shane versus Darby match. And I even said, before this whole Moxley and Darby thing even was a thing, I even said, you can go back and find it. I just for the sheer insanity of it, Shane versus Darby, and now it would even make more sense. Again, not I guess I am, but can you fucking imagine like the car crash that would be Shane McMahon versus Darby Allin? And now, like I said, it would make more sense, or not make more sense, but you would have more reason to do it with the whole influx of Darby Allin being pissed off at John Moxley's group, and and he had a title shot and then he lost it, all that shit. So you could get back to it. You could get back to it. I would fucking love it. Let's see. Ezekiel says, I see what the plan was with between Danielson, but this feud needs melodrama, video packages, interviews, etc. I need the reaction of his families, how this has affected Nikki. Yeah, and the whole I'll leave this up here. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole fact that we never got any type of response from Renee of what Moxley did, like even just in passing, a quick 30-second thing. I think she referenced something later that evening at like the media scrum they do, but like what? Like in the past, and it's not even like, oh, like she doesn't get involved. Like yes, she does, because she would give Eddie Kingston shit when him and Moxley were going back and forth. So we've seen her reference Moxley on screen before, so they have no excuse on that. Um, yeah, they just can't use the Shane O'Mac name. I mean, no, that's probably like the Shane O'Mac that version itself. But there's ways around it, for sure. And Brandon, the Ruiner, says, I think Shane coming into AEW will be backstage deal, one show up to live, then stay backstage for other stuff. And that's what I kind of thought as well when the picture first floated with him and Tony Khan talking. If it's more of a behind the scene thing, which I think it would obviously he would have a heavy role behind the scenes, so just for the business purpose of it, maybe not even like being involved creatively, but just the marketing, the partnerships and stuff like that, and just the outreach. Use the fuck out of the name, you know? Like yes, like Vince has really tarnished the McMahon name, but it still holds the WWE relation to it still holds a lot of weight. Gonna get through it here. Ezekiel also says, I actually prefer Mox to be going on his own crusade of violence to push his ideology of wrestling, and I don't want Shay to be the head. He's goofy and has always been. He's never been serious. I agree. The only thing that I did kind of think about, and again, this wasn't as serious, but the whole Raw Underground thing. I don't know if you watched WWE at that point, Hezekiah, but I kind of got flashbacks to the WWE Underground like vibe from Shane, you know, that was his idea. So I could see him wanting to do something to that effect and just be more like bare knuckle, like hard hitting, like snug, like that type of ideology, to use that word, of it. And I think this would give Shane an opportunity to really show more of an edge, you know, and to show maybe a different side to him that was maybe limited or handcuffed in WWE. And again, I'm not even advocating. It sounds like I'm advocating for Shane to come in. I'm truly not, as a whole, but just for the sheer fuckery of it, I would love it. But yeah, no. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna read some of the comments here, but all right. And then Johnny says Christian might become champion by the end of the night. Yeah, that would be fucking wild. Wheeler Yuta can help Brian retain the belt by using by using a bag over the head. Yeah, talk about poetic justice, right? And Hezekiah says, "Nah, considering the hype, the put in all in, there's no way they're just not gonna hype the fact that Mox could literally end Brian's career." And again, that's why I was leaning more towards Danielson retaining here, but I think they're gonna possibly want to go for a shock value. I really do. Let's see, going through here, and oh, we have Jesse in the chat. Jesse Rasco says, hell yeah, Ash, much love from Ringside Renaissance Podcast. Love your show. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. I would definitely check out your show. Ringside Renaissance, nice name too. So yeah, man, I appreciate that. Thanks for the love. I would definitely reach out to you for sure and reach out to your show and subscribe. Let's see, we have Joshua as well. Say Mox and Danielson is too serious to have Christian Cage getting involved. I love Christian, but he's not a serious person. He's not. He's not as great as he is. He's not, and I don't see that happening right now. At least tomorrow night, maybe a little ways down the road, but I don't really see him doing that right now. Wrapping up here, and Jesse says, if Moxley's group isn't leading to Shane, what else could all these riddles be? Sounds like a bunch of nonsense. Yeah, and that again, that's why I'm like, I truly don't know what else it would lead to unless he's just riddling, just spewing bullshit, you know, and just kind of like a Aleister Black type of vibe back in WWE NXT days, where like what he's saying, kind of like a Bray Wyatt thing too, where like what they're saying, like and you know, RIP, but character wise, like they would say some shit that sounded cool, and I was like, okay, yeah, like you're intrigued, but then like you just realize that, okay, like where are we really going with this? Like what are we really talking about? And I think with them, and I don't think Moxley's that kind of guy, right? I think he's the type of guy that always has an endpoint in mind. And I that's why I feel like if it's not, maybe it's not Shane, but I think it's someone else who's going to be the leader of this group, or maybe not the leader, maybe an equal to Moxley. And that's why if not Shane, then okay, I just don't know who else it would be. I And that's why I'm like, if it's not Shane, they've kind of put themselves in a weird positioning here. And they kind of like maybe will be scrambling to figure out who it's gonna be or an answer to this. But I don't know. I don't know. Like I really I don't know who else it would lead to. But a couple more comments here, and then I do have to wrap up to head over to my actual job later on. Johnny says, what would you do with the trio championships? I would get rid of them, Johnny. I would fucking get rid of them, is what I would do. Yeah, I would get rid of them. If you're not going to have a roster split, they've negatively impacted the tag division, in my opinion. I just don't, like, what else do you do with them? Like, you just get rid of them, in my opinion. Like, it's not even like to get rid of something doesn't have to be a negative thing. Like, just admit you have, like, there's too much, or just make an excuse, like, you know what, you want to merge them with the tag team championships or whatever. Just like be done. Just be done. Hezekiah says, not gonna lie, this whole new BCC thing could lead to a babyface finally beating the big boss Mox. I'm thinking Osprey or Wardlow. God, Wardlow. Talk about a blast from the past, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you would really like thread Osprey through, especially a Wardlow. Maybe a Wardlow is coming back to save the good name of AEW type thing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But that's what I was saying earlier too. Like, if not Shane, then where else do you go with it? And I think it's a little too early to really see who's going to dethrone Mox, because we still have to have Moxley be like the final boss type character. But yeah, it's interesting to say the least. And I'll give him that. Like, we're sitting here talking about it, right? And intrigued by it. So we'll see. Will we see, Brandon the Ruiner says, will we see Bobby Lashley tomorrow night too? I think yeah. I think yes. Depending on what kind of interaction we get with MVP and Shelton Benjamin backstage, and with Swerve returning, I think it's gonna have something to do with that. Yeah, and then there's a comment, exactly. They keep pushing back on tag belts for the girls, and they need to make them right now. Nah, I'm not gonna. Nah, I do not want tag titles for the women's division. I had to disagree with you on that one. I don't want more titles. I want less titles. And the women's, they can't even figure out what they're doing with the TBS championship. Damn near can't figure out what they're doing with the women's title. So last thing they need is tag titles for them. And yeah, Wardlow does need to leave for WWE. I've been saying that. Last comment here before I log off. Hezekiah says, I just think Mox needs to make it clear that the ideology of violence is king to him and it's his god. So he's going to reshape AEW in his image. Violence is God, and we all worship it. Yeah. So essentially, just having like the symbolism of violence itself be what drives Moxley. I could see that for sure. And that be his higher power, not necessarily a man or an actual human being, but violence itself. That could be it. And kind of like an Undertaker would like worship his urn, right? Like Moxley worships violence. And in his mind, the symbolism for that is being the heavyweight champion, because that means you're the best. And it could kind of go that route. So yeah, I could see that. But yeah, Joshua says tag titles for the women could work if they eliminated the TBS title. I don't even want to see that though. Like, I just don't think that they need tag titles to begin with. Who would the teams be? You know, like that's my thing. Like, I don't know. We just need more focus in the women's division as a whole before we add any more titles for them, in my opinion. And yeah, Ezekiel says the only way to defeat Mox is with violence. So that's why I'm like, I don't know what Danielson's gonna do. So long term, maybe with that mindset, Hezekiah, maybe we see a Swerve dethroning Moxley, or a Hangman Page dethroning Moxley. Especially if Page is gonna end up being a good guy, which I don't know how we would get back there. But yeah, violence could be the thing that could be the key in all of this. But guys, I'm gonna wrap up there. Thank you so much for joining me in the chats and for interacting. I truly appreciate it. Feel free to go ahead and subscribe and like and drop any more comments if you'd like. I truly appreciate that. You can follow me on Twitter at @kickashpodcast_. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. And I will be jumping over on Brass Ring Media on their YouTube page tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. live Eastern. Obviously we'll be talking about WrestleDream as well and anything else that happens on SmackDown. But until next time, guys, thank you again so much for checking out the show and for interacting here today. I really appreciate it. But until next time, stay safe, enjoy some wrestling, guys, and just be nice to one another. You know, you never know what someone else is dealing with. So if you have nothing nice to say, just shut up. You know, shut the fuck up. It's easier said than done sometimes, right? But yeah, I just I always appreciate the support and the interaction from you guys. And like I said, feel free to join me tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern live over at Brass Ring Media on YouTube. And subscribe over there if you haven't. But until next time, guys, like I said earlier, enjoy some wrestling and just stay safe out there. Take care.